Welcome to All the Gear But No Idea, the South Australian fishing podcast hosted by Rhodey and Diz. The boys will share their tall tales of the one that got away, as well as some regular segments they know all you fishing tragics will enjoy.
G'day and welcome to All the Gear But No Idea, the South Australian Fishing Podcast, episode 149. Dizzy, welcome to the show.
Mate, this is a huge episode, 149. It's one shy of 150, of course, where you'd raise the bat after 1.5 tons. And it's also a very special episode because our dreams have come true of a live audience. We've got Simon here.
We've got Simon. He come and dropped off a bit of gear and decided to join us for the podcast. So, Diz, it's an honour to have a guest.
It is. It's an absolute honour. I mean, we're sort of, for every previous episode, you've always said to Lucy before we record, do you want to sit in as a live audience? And she gives you a stern look, or she says, you know, don't be stupid, Matt, or I'm going to bed, and we've finally done it. So
I reckon if we let Lil stay up late, she'd sit and watch.
Yeah, I reckon. Yeah.
She'd try and
get Lil before
she'd try and push you out of the microphone, though, I reckon. But
yeah, she would. She'd get a bit bullish about it.
And Diz, we've got a big guest as well, Alicia Bolitho. She is part of the team from Port Lincoln, one half of the team from Port Lincoln Tackleworld and Port Augusta Tackleworld, and she's also heavily involved in representing the tackle industry in all things Algal Bloom. So she's been very busy.
Yeah, it'll be great to have a chat with her later in today's episode. Rhodey, let's get into oranges and lemons. Why don't you start us with your orange?
Dizzy, today, we're all big Port fans around here. The fixture came out, and my God, Port has a delicious-looking first 5 games. I'm putting us down for 5 and zip.
I was going to say, you've put the mockers on us. We'll probably be like zip and 5.
Then we're going into Zach Butter's office, and we're putting a big fat contract on his desk Monday after gather round, and we're signing him up. And Dougie Cochran got the NGA eligibility, so he's coming to the Power next year too, Diz.
Oh, happy days. Good news all around for those Port fans. My orange has been just had a lovely weekend in Sydney for a good friend of ours, Will Latchford. He got married up there in Palm Beach.
Actually, can I go back and do my orange again?
Oh, yeah.
Getting the bride to hold up a business card in the photo was hilarious.
Yeah. Actually, that should have made our oranges.
After the last wedding we went to, we promised we were getting podcast business cards printed, and we did, and we took them to the wedding, and we went to town on them. Yeah,
we did go to town on it. It was a real highlight when the guy who was the lead singer and the only person up there in the band stuck it to his forehead. He was so sweaty, it stuck to his forehead, and had our QR code up there, and everyone was walking up to him to scan the QR code to download the latest episode. That was a great initiative by you, Rhodey. Well played. Roll that into your lemon for us, Rhodey.
Diz, we should have taken a fishing rod.
Oh, I know.
I walked around the harbour and saw a few kids, and I was a bit jealous of the little fellas, and then we were up at Palm Beach and a few people fishing off the rocks. They didn't catch anything though. We did ask them.
Yeah, we did. We had to ask them.
But we should have taken a rod. We probably would have fitted in a fish or two.
Yeah, I think we would have.
Mistake.
Yeah,
anyway.
It was. All right, my lemon is that had a bit of a mishap with my laptop.
Oh, actually, this is a good story. Please tell the listeners.
Yeah, I was rushing out the door, coffee in one hand, piece of toast in the other, and then someone phoned or something distracted me, so I put my laptop bag on with the roof racks of the car and just drove off. Just can't believe I've never done that in my life, and I was just blissfully unaware right until I got to work and realised, oh crap, I don't have my laptop bag. Fortunately, I did sort of circle back and found it on the Southern Expressway, but it was unfortunately run over by about 300 trucks before me. So the guts was everywhere. My laptop's done. So, I'm not sure that, fishing podcasts will get an Apple sponsorship, but we can try.
You never know, Diz, but yeah, that's definitely a lemon. That would have been a sour blow.
Horrible. All right, Rhodey, what's been doing the rounds? Your social media post of the crayfish sort of got a few people talking.
Yeah, it did go well, didn't it, Diz? That one, it was interesting the amount of people that wanted to buy a crayfish office.
Yeah.
I'm not sure they realise how illegal that is.
Yeah, interesting. Maybe those people thought you're on Facebook Marketplace.
Oh, I don't know. But we'll get into that in the fishing report. We did do well on the crayfish. And we also had a good picture of the the abalone diz, and there's a couple of recipes that people have tossed up as options to how to cook the abalone, and I might give one of them a whirl on the weekend. So keep tuned.
As opposed to like putting it through a fish mincer and turning them into patties like we did once upon a time?
We did do that. They were all right.
Yeah. All right, ready? Let's get into the news.
Rhodey and Diz have been searching far and wide to bring you the latest news across all fishing in the state, and will give you the rundown on what you need to know.
Rhodey, there's been a change in bag limit, mate, and you were down there fishing for him. So tell us about it.
There certainly has, Diz. Obviously, everyone knows that, there was the cuts to bag limits across both gulfs, but just before November 1, I think it was actually the day before it might have been, an email came out a little bit on the quiet. It wasn't sort of well publicised that crayfish were going to stay as is, Diz. So that's back to the full limit, which is great to hear. So you're allowed 8 per boat, 4 per person, which is a big win. That's across both gulfs, Diz.
Yep.
And I think Kingfish is also 1 per person, 2 per boat. I don't have that in front of me, but that one went up as well, I believe.
Yep. Okay, good
so
news.
So a couple have been slightly fixed up, which was great because we got our 8 crayfish and we were happy, Diz.
Yeah. Yeah, it was nice of you to hold up crayfish that your brother-in-law had caught.
Oh, do you want to know the story?
No.
Everyone was doubting me.
We don't really.
Everyone was doubting me, and I caught 4 out of the 8, and I caught 3 the 3 biggest.
Yeah, we might need that independently verified.
I'll get Mark on the podcast next time.
Sounds good. All right, Rhodey, and the cockle season is open, but for bait collection only. That'll reduce a lot of pressure on the cockle fishery.
This is a massive win for common sense.
This is.
Every bloody year they shut it because there's some E. coli outbreak. Just put a sign up saying there's E. coli, don't eat them, you only use them for bait.
Yeah.
It's not that hard. So they've opened it for bait collection only, and that is due to elevated brevetoxin identified in Goolwa cockles, but there's no reason why the poor little whiting can't eat the brevetoxin cockles.
Yeah, that's true. All right, Rhodey, our next story is about the Spencer Gulf Ferry. It's off again. We'll have a bit of a chat to Alicia about get her perspective on how she thinks this might affect travel across the Eyre Peninsula. But it's an interesting story. The owner was sort of saying that it just basically was untenable what they were asking them to the government to do, that to go around a certain area and that sort of thing, Rhodey.
Yeah, so that'll be interesting, Diz. So Spencer Gulf Sea Road has announced the temporary suspension of its Wallaroo to Lucky Bay ferry service, with the CEO confirming the decision, stating that the current older vessel, Aurora 5, has been in Yamba, New South Wales since July, undergoing a refit following her recent sale, with the objective of replacing her with a future-proof vessel. So that's obviously got a bit to do with it as well. But I've never been on it, Diz. You've been on it once, have you?
Yeah, I went on the way back from the Lincoln comp last year. Didn't save any time, but after a big few days fishing, it was nice to sit on the ferry and, have a bit of a break from driving and whatever.
It has been on again, off again 100 times, hasn't it?
Yeah, well, definitely. Definitely. So it'll be interesting to see whether that comes back on again, but yeah, it'll be interesting to see how that affects people's summer plans. So I imagine there'd be some people that would want it, but, it's when it doesn't save you a lot of time, and it's, I don't think it saves you money either. It's sort of, people probably just go, well, if I'm going, I'll just drive around.
Yeah, that's fair. But I suppose there are people who aren't as comfortable sitting in a car all day, Diz. But anyway, we'll see what effect that has over summer.
Yeah, very good. All right, Rhodey, what else have we got? We've got a bit of news coming in about the Let's Go Fishing. Yeah,
so Diz, I don't think any of the tags have been caught as far as I've heard. So there's still the 10 grand up for catching. And if you haven't heard, go back to episode 148 and have a listen to Asher. He gave some tips, basically saying get your soft plastics down to Myponga and catch yourself a golden perch, because there's plenty of tagged fish down there. But as of yet, no one has done that. And I think it won't be that far away from round 2 opening, which will be a different set of species, which I think they're yet to announce, Diz.
Yeah, that's right. It'd be interesting because it's a good initiative, and one's obviously very close to your heart, Rhodey, being a proud ambassador.
Yes, Diz, I was the eye candy on the photos.
Who's cool?
And another good thing to come out of this Let's Go Fishing promotion is the monthly prizes. So Liam Dobson, he's taken home a $530 Shimano combo just for being registered. And I believe he hadn't actually been fishing yet. Oh. He'd registered for the competition, hadn't gone fishing yet, and he's taken home a beautiful prize pack from Shimano, a rod and reel combo, $530 worth of gear just for being in the competition.
Wow, there you go.
So jump on and you might as well register.
If that isn't reason enough to get on there, I don't know what will be. Rhodey, what species is specifically responsible for the algal bloom, mate?
Dizzy, this has really fascinated me because all the way along we were blaming that Carina Milky Moi toy, which I practiced. It was.
I don't think was it Milky Moi toy?
It was something like that.
It wasn't milk.
I think it was.
Oh, gosh.
Anyway, a new report has come out that the Carina cristata species is the source of the toxins. So that is interesting, Diz, because that is I think it's one of the few Carina algal blooms that produces brevetoxins, and that is what they believe is killing so many of these fish, Diz. So more than 20 researchers have contributed to this piece of research. It is being peer reviewed, so it is still ongoing. So my understanding is it did start off as the Carina Milky Moi toy, and then
it's Mickey Moi.
Is it? It's not Milky Moi toy.
It's not milk.
We're going to get all the science types figured up now. Anyway, but somewhere along the journey, the Carina cristata has taken over as the dominant species in the bloom. We don't know whether that was recently or whether that's been the case for months, but that is the only one known to produce the brevetoxins within the bloom.
There you go.
So we've been blaming the wrong mob, basically.
Yeah, case of mistaken identity, you think.
Oh, unbelievable.
Oh, dear. All right, Roddy. Well, there's been a federal report or an inquiry, I think it might have been handed down.
Senate inquiry.
Senate inquiry with a report suggesting that state and federal governments were poorly prepared for the algal bloom. Probably a few learnings to come out of it. Of course, there will be.
So it was led by Green Senator Sarah Hanson-Young, and it's a 207-page report. I'm up to about page 193.
Okay.
Just chipping through it with a bit of bedtime reading, Diz.
These days, you can put a report like that into a platform like Notebook LM, and AI will turn it into a podcast for you.
Oh, well, don't tell people that. They'll listen to that instead of us, Diz.
Well, you can't turn a podcast into a podcast.
Anyway, so there are 14 recommendations. It basically says that state and federal governments were not fast enough to act, and it suggested a new definition for declaring how climate-induced slow onset and significant ecological events could be incorporated into a broader national framework. So basically they're saying they should have acted faster and things like that. I have read some sort of commentary about this, Diz, that a lot of people are saying, look, this is a once-in-a-generation event. How were we supposed to plan for it? And I have then seen the rebuttal saying this marine heat wave was predicted and known about, and it was sort of, they were aware of it as it was happening, and this was then a likely outcome of that. And the other thing I actually read, this was from Oz Ocean, and it says that a recent nature study found that between 2003 and 2020, blooms occurred in 126 of 153 coastal nations. So that's pretty high to have a significant bloom. And they've grown 13% in area and 59% in frequency. And it says the main drivers are warmer seas, nutrient runoff, and longer summers. So it sounds like we need to be more aware of these things going forward. And that's both South Australia and the rest of the country.
Well, there you go. I can't help but feel like this bloom, if it was in somewhere like Sydney, would have attracted a fair bit of more worldwide attention.
Can you imagine if 7 dolphins washed up in Sydney Harbour?
Yeah.
There would have been outcry.
Yeah, there would have been. All right, Roddy, what else have we got? The Brimmaster SA Angler of the Year, Paul Cook.
Yes, congratulations. He's taken out the Angler of the Year, and he also took out the Pro Lure Australia Big Brim for 2025 with a 1.28 kilo beast. They've described it during round 3. So a great effort there from Paul.
Well done to Paul. That is a juicy little news segment, Rhodey. You got anything else for us?
No, I'm done, mate. I'm done. That was jam-packed.
Well done. Well, we've got a fair bit more to get through, but before we have a chat with Alicia, let's get into our tackle item of the week.
Now it's time for Rhodey and Diz to really show you what it means to have all the gear with a lot of idea as they review a tackle item of the week.
All right, Dizzy, this is an interesting one that I like the look of a lot, Diz. It is the Fishing Guru. It's called a great product called their Bait and Burley Dough Mix. I don't know if you've seen this one, Diz. You've been all over it?
Yeah. I've seen a little bit of it. I haven't purchased any of it yet.
So it is basically, it looks to me like a powder.
Yeah.
And you mix it up into a dough, and you can either use it as a bait or you can use it as a burley on your spring burley. And
can you stitch anyone up and use it as like a pizza base or something like that?
Yeah, well, actually right here it says, made right here at Guru HQ from 100% non-toxic, environmentally friendly and technically food-safe ingredients. So Dan Way is one step ahead of you, Diz. It is food safe.
If I'm eating something that's technically food safe, I'm a little bit worried. I want it to be actually
yeah, that's fair.
Safe.
But these are big overseas, Diz, these little dough balls that they use to catch carp and things like that. It comes in 4 flavours or colours. There's the estuary mix, which is chicken and prawn flavoured, and that is orange. The freshwater mix is corn and berry, and that is pink. The marine mix is classic curry, which is yellow. And the all-rounder mix is garlic and aniseed. And it's a great product from the Fishing Guru in Dan Way. And I suppose part of the appeal that he talks about is it stores forever in the glove box or your fishing bag. Just add water to form a dough and it's good to go. So it is one of those things that you can have in case of an emergency, Diz.
You can't be surprised that Dan's come up with a brilliant product like this, though. He just keeps delivering.
He's a smart man and he's a good operator, Dan Way. So his Bait and Burley Dough Mix is our tackle item of the week for episode 149.
Good on you, Dan. That's brilliant. All right, Rhodey. Well, this is going to be a great chat to hear from someone who's been living and breathing all things tackle stores, been seeing the impact firsthand about everything to do with the Algal Bloom, and has been representing fishing communities at some of the highest levels as a board member. So, Rhodey, let's get Alicia on the line.
Now it's time to get our guest on the line. We'll ask them the all-important 5 questions, then chat all things fishing in SA.
All right, Rhodey, we are very lucky to be joined by Alicia, who runs 2 of the best tackle stores in the state. Of course, we're talking about none other than Tackleworld Port Lincoln. She's also the South Australian board member for AFTA. Alicia, it's great to have you on the show.
No worries. Thanks, guys.
All right, now, Alicia, we're going to get into all things Eyre Peninsula and obviously the Algal Bloom, but let's first start with those 5 questions that we ask all our guests and start off by telling us about your best fish.
My best fish is probably when I first moved over to Port Lincoln, was a 15-pound snapper before the band, obviously, but it was just out of Port Lincoln at the BHP oil jetty. So that was certainly a token fish that I'd never caught that big before.
Wow, that's epic. And Alicia, tell us your favourite thing about fishing.
Favourite thing about fishing, obviously, you know, we've got a 7-day business, so getting away from the shop, spending time with the kids and taking your mind off the everyday chaos and, catching fish is a bonus.
Very good. That's a very good attitude to have, but over in Port Lincoln you catch plenty of fish, so I'm sure you don't have to worry about that too much.
No.
Now tell us your first fishing memory or what got you into it.
First fishing memory was probably with my grandpa. We used to catch garfish off the wharf at Port Augusta before it was sort of partly demolished at the moment. So, yeah, certainly living by the water has been something I've done for most of my life. And back then, bag limits were crazy and we just used to catch garfish after garfish.
Well, can you teach Rhodey a thing or two about how to fillet the garfish?
No, I leave that to Shane.
All right, well, note to self, then we'll go and hit up Shane when we're next in Port Lincoln.
Yeah, absolutely. or take it to your local fishmonger and they do it for you.
Yeah, well, that's a great call. Alicia, what's your favourite sort of fishing and why?
Probably lately, obviously since we've got a bigger boat, is tuna fishing. Just with the kids there and the never knowing of what's on the other end, whether you've got a tuna or a kingfish or could be anything, and there's that real spilling out the line. It's it's good fun.
Very good. It is good fun. And you must have a funny fishing story or tell us about the one that got away.
It's probably it's probably not that funny, but back in the early 2000s, I lived in Clare and we'd been to an auction and had a fair few wines, and we bought a charter over at Port Hughes with a group of mates, and we were on the charter. We'd caught snapper and all sorts of bits and pieces, and it got sort of toward the end of the day, and I'm trying to pull up my line, and we thought we'd all been hooked up underneath the boat, and another guy was on the other side. He thought he was hooked up to me, and I was actually hooked up to a 6-foot gummy shark. So we were all trying to pull in lines, and at the end of it was, this beautiful, great big gummy shark.
Did it have a mess of everyone else's lines wrapped around it, or?
Yeah, it was all over the place. Yeah. But we managed to get it in, so it was good fun.
Very good. All right, Alicia, thanks for answering those 5 questions. Now, we're going to start off with a bit of background. So we have had Shane on before, but tell us about the 2 businesses. You got Tackleworld Port Lincoln, which I saw just celebrated its 10-year anniversary, I think, which is a huge effort. So congratulations on that. And more recently, you've opened up Tackleworld at Port Augusta as well. Tell us about all that, Alicia.
Yeah, so look, we've had Tackleworld Port Lincoln for 10 years. We moved into our most recent shop 3 years ago. So that was a big job, but it certainly has paid off. We've got a beautiful shop there, which looks fantastic. And then we sort of saw the opportunity at the top of the Spencer Gulf with a couple of shops shutting down, that there was an opportunity there. So we did sort of a couple of pop-up shops for a couple of years. And then last year we did it again and sort of bit the bullet in April this year and decided to open one up full time. So it's been certainly a demand there for fishing gear, and particularly in boating, because there's not sort of a lot around there. So we've sort of been trying to cover most bases with boating, fishing, and a little bit of diving. And it's certainly been a busy shop at this time of the year with the Kingfish.
Yeah, I was going to say, tell us a bit about the Kingfish. Obviously, you'd have heaps of people coming in the moment the word goes around town that they're there, and everyone would be coming from far and wide to try and catch one of them. They're a prized fish, that's for sure. Yeah, look, it has been busy, and it's great for the community. I've sort of talked to the mayor a few times about it, and I think, the town sort of underestimates the value of that Kingfish to the town in terms of tourism, accommodation, fuel. And people travelling. We've had people, Shane actually had someone ring up from America last week that had seen it obviously on YouTube or something like that and was inquiring about it. So it certainly is an iconic fish, and it's an iconic area, and I certainly can't think of anywhere else in Australia where you've got fish, available pretty well at your back door to sort of catch and release, and a lot of that fish is released. So it is, certainly an iconic sports fish.
It's been a great season too, hasn't it, Alicia? It's sort of almost holding the SA fishing economy together. Do you think some of that comes down to the netting ban that came in a couple of years ago?
Yeah, absolutely. I think that has made a big difference, and certainly, with obviously this Algal Bloom, I've been talking to a lot of stores, and they are getting a lot of runoff through Adelaide with Kingfish purchases. So it's great, even though it's sort of 300 kilometres away. The love's being shared all over the place with retail stores, which is great. Yeah,
that's good. And tell us, most recently it was hitting the media about the Spencer Gulf Sea Road closing down. Has that sort of helped anybody thinking they might be going through Port Augusta, but maybe hurt people wanting to travel across to the Eyre Peninsula? Do you think that that'll have a significant effect, or it's just one of those things?
Yeah, look, it's an interesting one. We, if for, we get a lot of reps that go on there. So when they're, hard pressed for time, jump on the ferry, come over, do what they need to do and head back. Look, I think for maybe the older generation or people that are short on time, it's a good opportunity to have a rest and get on the ferry. But, I think it is disappointing. But, again, it gives people the opportunity to travel up to Port Augusta, head either across to Streaky or down to Port Lincoln along that lower Eyre Peninsula. So, look, people just got to plan a bit more and, maybe throw an extra overnight trip in there if 7 hours is too far. Then certainly there's plenty of great spots to stay right along the coast.
All right, now, Alicia, we have to move on to the algae now. I know everyone's a bit sick of talking about it, but it is very important. Can you tell us about, obviously, the bag limits reduced for the Spencer Gulf for those 4 key species? What effect has that, or do you think that will have on the Eyre Peninsula fishing and your businesses?
Yeah, look, it's a tricky one. You know, 4 or 5 months ago, before obviously all these changes were happening, obviously the Yorke Peninsula have been hit hard. Adelaide has been hit hard. We were looking at going, well, we're going to have the best probably Christmas season we've had, because pretty well, other than a small patch, Upper Arno Bay area and Cow, the rest of the Eyre Peninsula was looking fantastic. So we sort of thought, oh, well, you know, we may have a busy season. Everyone may come here, or obviously head down to the southeast, which is also free, or up to the Murray River. So, you know, we were in anticipation. We sort of got to, before the bag limits change, deciding to bite the bullet and order a heap of stock. And then obviously we were hit with those bag limits. So it's a tricky situation for any business to decide what to do. You know, we're moving into October to March is our biggest period of our year, which is about 70% of our income. So you look at it from there, you go, well, I need to be ordering all this stock. Do I do it now or do I don't? Are we going to get people? Are we not going to get people? Are people going to travel as a husband and wife and catch 5 fish? I'm hoping they will and things won't change. But, yeah, it's a hard one to try and get your head around at the moment as a business owner.
Do you know if it's flowed on to like accommodation bookings and things like that? I know Yorke Peninsula had a lot of caravan parks that were struggling with bookings over Christmas. Have you heard anything, whether that's started over in Port Lincoln at all?
Yeah, I haven't heard a lot in sort of the last couple of weeks. I know earlier on a lot of the caravan parks had cancellations. For us here, it's a little tricky because they are actually building the desal plant, so that has brought in a massive influx of people. And I believe I had someone actually stay at my place last night because they could not get a room anywhere in Port Lincoln.
Wow.
So I'm not sure what's happening there in terms of accommodation, but they basically called every accommodation they had and could not get a room. So there's obviously something going on here, and the rumour is that the desal plant has taken up a lot of that accommodation, which, if that leads into Christmas, are we going to then have tourists that can't get accommodation? So that's sort of another spanner in the works on top of the Algae Bloom, on top of bag cuts for the Eyre Peninsula. It's going to be interesting times.
Yeah, and now, Alicia, so you're the SA board member for AFTA, so the Australian Fishing Tackle
Trade Association.
Trade Association. I got there I got a bit of help, but anyway. So you've been quite involved in sort of representing the tackle industry here in South Australia, in sort of discussions with the government and things around that, with all that's going on with the Algal Bloom. You must have been busy with all that, Alicia. Tell us about some of that.
Yeah, look, the last 3 months have been pretty full on. It's obviously having a representative here has been good in terms of AFTA being able to push similar issues that RecFish SA have been pushing in terms of, trying to get funding for stores, trying to get funding for businesses and all that sort of stuff. So, yeah, we've been in very close contact, particularly with the Premier's office, meeting after meeting. We have our weekly Algae Bloom AFTA meeting to try and, keep on top of things. We've received a $300,000 grant, which is promoting retail stores throughout the state. So we've got a heap of ambassadors on board that will promote catch your fish, clean your fish, enjoy it. The fishing is safe. The big message is that we know fishing is safe to catch, changing that mindset that, the fish that are in the ocean are okay, despite what other people are sort of saying, and try and change that negative into a positive.
Yeah, that's been a lot of it, hasn't it? Just that real misunderstanding from people about areas that have been affected versus those that haven't. And I suppose, the media obviously has a pretty big role in that. But I suppose it'd be good to hear from you, because we've spoken to a number of people over the years about fishing in Port Lincoln, and there's just so many different options, let alone it being a great place to visit. But whether you're going offshore or wandering across a beach in the national park or whatever it is, there's just so many options. And I imagine that, you'll be looking to spread that message as far and wide as you can to encourage people to get out to the regions and enjoy fishing.
Yeah, absolutely. I actually got an email today, which we put up on our Facebook page. A couple of kids went down with the West Coast youth just to the local wharf, and within an hour and a half on a slow tide, they caught 12 whiting. So between 4 of them, obviously nearly bagged out with the new site, with new bag limits. But, that's pretty good going for Port Lincoln. We've got the rat kingfish won't be too far away. So you've got them running along the wharf and the jetties. Tuna won't be far away. There'll be probably another 3 or 4 weeks. And then you've got all your offshore species, and then obviously your second tier fish, what you can certainly target. You've got gummy sharks, you've got all sorts. So there's plenty of options there outside of that four key species that we can target over summer.
Yeah, I suppose that's the big thing to remember. Like, while the whiting and all those have cut down half the bag limits, you can still go out and get your big bag of nanagai and all those other great species that are available offshore. And I suppose that's the great thing about Port Lincoln and some of the surrounding areas. There are just so many options. So it's well worth a trip over there over the summer.
Yeah, absolutely. And, it's just not just Port Lincoln. You've got all the little towns, right along this peninsula that are going to need the support. Obviously Cow, Arno Bay, they've got their issues with the Algae Bloom, but, we still want people to stop in there, visit, stay, whether they fish or not, use it as a home base and spread across the coastline and use each little town as a base and visit as much as they can and support all these small regional towns.
Yes, exactly right. Now, Alicia, you mentioned Cowell and Arno Bay having some algae. Is that sort of the extent of it over on the Eyre Peninsula? It hasn't spread any further than that?
Yeah, look, we believe there may have happened in Whyalla in the last couple of days. There has been some dead eagle rays there that have washed up, but we're sort of looking at some testing there at the moment. That's only just happened in the last 24 hours, so hopefully that all comes back negative. But certainly, cow is the big issue here on the Eyre Peninsula at the moment.
Yes, we'll keep an eye on that. Now, we need to talk about something positive with you, Alicia. Your son, Charlie, has cleaned up at the Game Fishing Awards nationally. Can you tell us about that? That was a huge effort.
Yeah, look, he loves his fishing. It's rather be going to school, rather than not going to school and be fishing every day of the week.
Wouldn't we all?
When his dad goes out during the week, he's not a happy camper. But yeah, certainly we've been in the Game Fishing Club of South Australia for probably the last 5 years, which he's been a member of ever since then. Not huge numbers, which, we'd love to see kids' participation in the Game Fishing Club increase. But, he headed over to Melbourne with Shane and was awarded the most tag fished and the most captured fish for a small fry in South Australia. So he represented South Australia and won those 2 awards. So he's a very humble boy. It doesn't mean much to him. He'd rather just catch the fish and the trophies are a bonus.
Can you imagine if I won one of those awards, Dizzy went to school? I would have told every kid how good it was.
Yeah, he did take it to school, but he said, I only showed a couple of kids, Mum.
Good on him. Well done. We've both got kids that are nearly 4, so it won't be long and they'll give him a run for his money.
Yeah, absolutely.
Now, Alicia, you're planning to come over our way and fish the Warina tuna comp. Is that right?
Yeah, look, that's in February next year. So we've been a sponsor of that for the last couple of years. So that's part of the Game Fishing Club of South Australia. So they've put that on, I'm not sure how many years, but it's certainly getting stronger and stronger every year. They've got some amazing prizes. It's a cheap weekend. It's not expensive to sort of enter. And, it's a full weekend of tuna fishing down there at Warina, and they've got lots of boats already entered, and it should be a great weekend.
And they do a great job down there. They've always got some really great cash prizes, and we've never actually been able to fish it, but anyone we've ever spoken to always raves about how much of a great weekend it is. So we'll have to whack that one in the calendar. The only thing that does happen sometimes is the weather just gets in the way for that comp sometimes. So fingers crossed this year the weather plays the game and the fish are biting, and everyone will have a great weekend either way.
Yeah, look, it is good. They've actually we've been helping them out with some prizes and different sponsors for next year. So watch the space. There'll be some fantastic prizes on offer, and certainly the cash still is there. But it's great to have some extra incentive to head down there and try and catch yourself a tuna.
Very good. Well, we're not heading to KI this year, so it might be our chance because that often clashes with that weekend. So hopefully we'll be able to get the boat down there and get involved. That'd be great.
Sounds good.
All right, Alicia, thank you very much for joining us and chatting about all the great things that's going on in the Eyre Peninsula. Sounds like there is lots of fish at Port Augusta and further down around the Port Lincoln Way. Obviously a bit negative with the algae, but making the best of a bad situation, and we're certainly encouraging everyone to get out and get into the regions that are still fishing really well.
Yep, sounds good.
Thanks for joining us, Alicia. We'll chat to you soon.
No worries. Thanks, guys.
That was very good, Diz, to hear from Alicia. A great update on all things fishing on the Eyre Peninsula, Algal Bloom, Tackleworld, Port Lincoln and Port Augusta, and all the like, Diz.
Yeah, it was. It was good to hear from her, and I think certainly a very strong message of encouraging everybody to get out there and get around fishing this summer in some way that you can, and support local stores all round, and certainly the local tackle stores if you're thinking anything fishing.
Yes, very good, Diz. We strongly encourage that, and they are the spot to go to get your bait and tackle and your tips if you're over in Port Lincoln or Port Augusta. And we should actually do that, Dizzy. We really should go to Port Augusta and get a kingfish. We've talked about that for 2 years.
Yeah, good call. We certainly should.
And people keep organising weddings and things like that.
Don't you hate it when a wedding gets in the way?
Why does everyone put weddings in kingfish season?
Yeah.
They should think about this.
Just cut it out. That's ridiculous. All right, Roddy, let's get into the fishing report, mate.
Rhodey and Diz have been out on the water to bring you the news about where they're biting. Now it's time for the fishing report.
Rhodey, we've got a bit of a fishing report here to keep everyone across. And after just having a good chat with Alicia, I think it would be silly not to start with Kingies running hot at Port Augusta.
Yeah, they are, aren't they? And big ones too. There's been like quite a few that are $1.20, $1.30 plus.
Yeah.
And I think that's one of those things that at the start of the run, everyone's a bit hush-hush, like no one wants to be the one to put the photo on Facebook. But now the word's out, there's just photos popping up everywhere.
Everywhere. Yeah, that's right.
And sounds like lots are being caught, lots are being lost too. So you need to get good gear, good tackle. Nice, thick braid, strong braid. I suppose it's strong braid, isn't it? It's probably not. It's probably a little bit thicker, but...
Yeah, strong braid, fresh bait.
Live bait. Jigs. Get all your gear. Get into Port Lincoln Tackleworld.
Good call. Rhodey, where are the whiting biting, mate?
Well, certainly, I don't think the weather's been great the last week or so, but we have heard some whiting on the eastern side of the Yorke Peninsula, which is positive around sort of Stansbury, Edithburgh, those sort of parts, Diz. So hopefully that continues, and we should go over to Yorks and have another crack at the whiting. Now the dust is settling on the algae.
Yes, let's hope it stays that way, because it would be good to get into some whiting over summer, that's for sure. Rhodey, fair bit going over at Port Lincoln. They're sort of probably just eagerly awaiting the tuna to rock up. Yeah,
they are, but it sounds like there's plenty of options. I did see those kids that Alicia mentioned that caught, what'd she say, 12 whiting off the jetty today. So that was a huge effort. I've seen some pictures of kingfish down at Port Lincoln as well as plenty of whiting. So I think, again, the weather probably hasn't been great, but when it has, they've been getting out and getting plenty of fish over that way too, Diz.
Yeah, love that. That's very good. Now, Rhodey, this next one, mate, the land-based snapper.
Yeah,
from Granite Island.
I've actually seen a couple of photos of this, of different people getting land-based snapper. So that would be an absolute dream, wouldn't it? Off that jetty over there.
And that's a very good snapper.
It's a big fish. And I saw another one. I reckon the other pitch had 2 maybe. Oh. I could be making that up. But definitely someone else got one as well. So there's been a few snapper caught down there. And that is a bit of a trophy fish, really, land-based, isn't it?
Oh, mate, absolutely. That fish would be pulling some string. Can't believe he's got it off the Granite Island little like jetty and wharf. Would have been a real good fight there.
It's a bit like the one I caught at Middleton once upon a time. That was about that size.
Yeah, nice. Nah, wasn't. Nowhere near that big, mate.
All right, Diz, that could just about wrap us up. That's been a good episode. A big shout out to Alicia from Tackleworld, Port Lincoln and Port Augusta for coming on. And Diz, where can the listeners find us?
Oh, you'll find us all across all of the social media platforms that you could think of. You'll find us at every single podcasting platform that exists. But if you want to follow along for all the adventures, just jump on Facebook and Instagram and you'll keep up with everything.
See you guys.
See ya.
Rhodey and Diz hope you enjoyed today's episode of All the Gear But No Idea. Keep up to date by liking and sharing us on Facebook and Instagram. And you can subscribe on all the major podcast platforms. Until next time, good luck fishing.